Hey guys, ASD Classified here. So we had a team up today, so I guess I'm gonna talk about it and stuff. Clash of the Red Rangers. Let's get into it. So the episode started off with some narrator telling us that in an alternate dimension, machines rule supreme, and they're trying to take over the rest of the world, and RPM Rangers standing in the way, blah blah blah. So we saw this giant monster named Professor Cog, and he was fighting against the RPM Ultrazord, which was piloted by Scott. Don't know where the other Rangers were. We just looking at Scott. So yeah, they were having like some type of shootout, like count to 3, 1, 2, 3, fire. And Scott thought that he shot the monster, but the monster had some protective plate thing, and then he started shooting the Megazord and crap. Yeah, and then the monster said, "I'm gonna take my leave," and Scott was like, "I'm gonna follow you wherever you go." And that monster's like, "Even to another dimension." So yeah, Professor Cog is heading over to the dimension with the Samurai Rangers. And how does Professor Cog get to this dimension? On a magic subway. I'm not even joking. I don't know where this subway came from that can just transport people through the dimensions, but it is there. So yeah, we had this magic subway, and the Professor Cog got off, and he had a bunch of grinders with him, and he's looking for Master Xandred, and he's trying to find a way to get to the Netherworld. Meanwhile, in Samurai City, a Nylak monster is attacking, and this monster is just destroying a bunch of buildings. And if you saw my video where I talked about like the Power Rangers episodes being on Netflix, you know that I like building explosions. I love it, and that's one of the things I'm actually happy about for Samurai, because they brought them back. They're not afraid to throw in building explosions without throwing in, oh, that building was empty or some crap. No, we're just doing building explosions. So yeah, it was this monster. He was spinning around really fast. That's what he was saying. Okay, and then the Rangers show up, the Samurai Rangers. They show up and try to fight this monster, but of course, like, they're getting their butts kicked, and yeah. So before this monster could finish the Samurai Rangers off, he starts to, dry out and run out of the Sanzu water. So he went, back to the Netherworld. And meanwhile, Professor Cog was watching this fight and was like, oh, so that's how you get to the Netherworld. Oh. So let me also say this. Whoever voiced Professor Cog, I really liked that voice. It was a pretty cool voice. So, kudos to that voice actor. So yeah, back at the villain's lair, like, all the Nylaks are congratulating that zip monster on, his destruction and crap that he caused, and if he hadn't dried out, he would have destroyed the Rangers and blah blah blah. And then we see the evil Nylak King, the guy that Dayu made the deal with. He's just on the ship. He's just there. No explanation. And then we realize that this episode is not aired in order. It comes a lot later in the series. Great. Whatever. Anyway, like, at the end of the scene, I did like what Octoroo said to the zip monster. Like, he was putting Sansa River on the monster. The monster like, oh, that feels better. Like, yeah, there's a whole river out there, right? This isn't a spot. I actually like that. I like that. So yeah, the monster, he jumped off the boat into the river, and we never saw this monster again. Great. First there's Spider Monster, now this monster. They also have to mention that Master Xandred has this great Mooger army waiting to attack the city and the Rangers, and it's being led by this Nylak named General Gut. Yep. Anyway, Professor Cog comes to the Netherworld, and he speaks with Master Xandred and Octoroo and the Nylak King guy, whatever his name is. Yep, and he says that his master sent him to get the Sanzu River so he can take it back to his world and poison the remaining humans in the RPM world with the Sanzu water. Yep. Yeah, okay. So he mentioned his master, so I'm going to assume that his master is Venjix, of course. Well, here's some questions. How did Venjix find out about this alternate world? How did he find out about the Netherworld? How does he know about the Sanzu River? How does he know these things? Never explained. I mean, it's so hard to come across some poison that you have to travel dimensions. To get mystical water, furthermore, if his master is Benjix, we have to assume that this takes place before the RPM finale. I guess. I mean, it would be so much easier to actually tell us these things. I know. that would be absurd, though. But whatever. You know, Master Xandred agrees, you know, to team up with Professor Cog because Professor Cog said that he would destroy the Samurai Rangers for him. So yeah, evil teams up. Yes. Next scene, we go back to the wonderful dimension traveling subway, and the red RPM Ranger gets off. We cut to the Samurai Rangers who are walking around the city eating ice cream and stuff, and Kevin and Mike having a friendly argument. You know, it was kind of cool, you know, friends, and they were, you know, basically they were celebrating on defeating the Nightlock, even though technically they didn't defeat that Nightlock, he just dried out, but whatever, details. Yeah, so the Rangers, they were walking, and then this car comes flying and almost smashes Mike. That actually looked pretty cool. It just came down, like, what the heck? Okay, and then, like, they saw these grinders attacking people, and then the Rangers they're like, what the, are these Nightlocs? No, they're not. And yeah, so the Rangers morph, and they start fighting the grinders, but they're not doing that well with their swords. And Mike said, oh, these things have armor on them. And Emily said, they're not wearing armor, they are armor. My goodness. I actually did like the line though, so I'm not making fun of it too much, but yeah. So yeah, they were kind of struggling with the grinders, and then Scott, the RPM Red Ranger, he shows up and he starts blasting through, and basically he was just acting really cocky the whole time. He was just blasting and basically knocking the Rangers out the way and taking their kills and everything. Skippity-doo, the Rangers, like all the Rangers with Scott, you know, they end up back at the Shiba house, basically. And yeah, Scott, you know, reveals to the Rangers about what his dimension is like. You know, they're the last city on Earth, robots taking over, and he chased after Professor Cog and la da 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 da. You know, and there was also a bunch of Scott just acting like a dick, basically. Most of the time, he was just acting so arrogant and rude. Like, most of the time, like, this is not how Scott's character really acted. I mean, he had his mood swings in RPM, but he was never this arrogant and cocky and crap. Like, I really didn't like how they wrote his character throughout most of this episode. Yeah, also during this scene, like, they explained why Scott wouldn't demorph, because he wouldn't demorph, like, throughout the entire episode. We never got to see, like, the actor's actual face and stuff. So yeah, he said he couldn't demorph because since Benjix forces them to live, like, in a dome because, like, they can't breathe all the toxic air outside of the dome. So he was afraid that he couldn't actually breathe in their dimension, which is a lame explanation for why he won't demorph. I'm sorry. I mean, even RPM kind of ignored that reason in their show. Like, eventually everybody would leave the dorm, like, all the time. I know, that's kind of like a problem with RPM in general. Like, they built it up like it's so dangerous to leave the dorm, and by the end of the season, everybody would leave and having picnics outside the dorm and everything else. But this was really not, that's not really that great of a reason. I mean, I just can't buy it. Like, everybody else is breathing just fine, dude. Just demorph. Like, I don't know. Come up with something better. Come up with something, like, with their power levels. Like, if I demorph, then it'll take longer for his powers to recharge or something. You know how RPM had problems with their powers. I don't know. I didn't buy that. That was a pretty lame reason for why he couldn't demorph. I'm sorry. End of my rambling. Anyway, Jaden gave Scott, like, a spare room, so he went there. And then Mikey, like, told Eminem that he didn't like how Scott was looking at her. I thought that was cute. He was like, I don't like how he's looking at you. Emily was like, he has a helmet, how can you tell? Like, I can just tell. I don't like it. He checking out my girl, I don't like it. That was cute. I mean, like, I guess, like, the rumors are true, like, those two are gonna, you know, hook up and be a couple and stuff. I like that. They do kind of have, like, a chemistry, so it can work. I would like to see Mikey and Emily together. Anyway, back at the villains, Master Xandred gives Professor Cog, like, a Mooger to... I mean, a Nightlock. Gives him a Nightlock to wear, another monster. I mean, they completely forgot about the other monster they had earlier, so they gave him a new one. Some sergeant something, I forgot. Whatever, to help with the plans and crap. And they go to the surface world and they start attacking and crap. And the Samurai Rangers and Sky, they all run to fight. So all the Rangers attack Professor Cog. Professor Cog kicks all of their butts. Then he hits Jaden and Scott with hypno bolts. And after that, he ends up hitting them with like a dimension transporting ray or something. But like all the other Samurai Rangers jump in the way of it to protect Jaden and I guess to protect Scott. But they were mostly trying to protect Jaden. So they all got hit by the dimension transporting ray thing, and apparently they got transported to the RPM dimension, although we never saw them there. So yeah, other Rangers get transported, and the force of the beam knocks the two Red Rangers into like some river or something. And then like Professor Cog tells that Sergeant Nylock that he hit them with hypno bolts, and as soon it's gonna turn the Rangers against each other. So the two Red Rangers will eventually fight and destroy one another.